Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. So Article 8, it implicitly states, no member may impose without the fund's approval restrictions on the performance of payments and transfers related to international commercial transactions. Okay, so it goes on and says Article 14 implicitly indicates if the member is prepared to accept the obligations. So if Iraq is ready to accept those obligations, which we haven't quite seen just yet, to the end, but in action, it sounds like they have, contained in sections 2, 3, and 4 of Article 8, it says, thus the agreement encourages the free movement of capital between countries and the transfer of balances between other members, as well as the establishment of commercial and financial arrangements, international, bilateral, to what? To facilitate the performance of international payments and work to create a stable exchange rate system. Stable exchange rate system. Okay, which provides the appropriate environment to attract foreign investments. There you go. If you don't have that and you're not capable of getting it done, you're not going to get it done. What we're seeing is that the Central Bank of Iraq, the government of Iraq, the tripartite budget of Iraq, 2023, 24, 25, they haven't spent any money yet. They say that they're financing the salaries. That's a loan, folks, to pay salaries. That's a loan. So they haven't spent the money, in my view, my opinion. That's what I see. They haven't done that yet. Why? Because they haven't adjusted their exchange rate yet. They're going to. Do they need to? I think they really do. I really truly believe that. Here again, it says that the CBT, right, which is an entity that's part of this, and in all these articles, they don't really describe exactly what the CBT stands for, but obviously it's an entity that's helped facilitating this whole business. But it says that page 2, it says that the CBT, the International Center referred to the above, is considered an international organization that grants companies and foreign investors the right to stand on an equal footing with the country hosting their investments. So this entity is basically trying to focus in on helping all of those investors outside the country and in the world to go into Iraq and to be on a level playing field. Sound familiar? I think it does. It says Iraq's accession to the agreement is necessary to attract investments. So again, you're going to have to realize that this document seems to be a mix of old and new, and I'll get to that shortly. But here again, it says that the achieving the goals of the economic development, especially in the light of the transformation and adoption of the free market economy as the country's economic system, and making room for the private sector in an unprecedented manner. Well, okay, so that sounds like, well, would they talk about that in the past, that they did that? No. Are they talking about now? Sounds like it. Are they talking about it in the future? Sure, why not? But it doesn't sound like that was, in 1945. They're talking about the private sector in an unprecedented manner. It sounds like present. That's my view. You guys be the judge. Again, I refer back to the Patreon. You guys come in and see this at your leisure. I posted it today. So it's actually pretty cool. The foreign direct investment law, okay, that's been on the books, is based on what was stated above, which I just read. Iraq legislated the foreign direct investment law in what year? 2006. So yeah, it's different. Today's 2023. I mean, it's been a long time. They've had time to work on this. And yeah, sure, the blah, 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 the status quo, I get it, no problem. But you know what? Guess what? Things have changed. Times are different. I have to say that the benefits that the investors are going to have in the future at this stage, we didn't see anything coming from the conference out of Kuwait. I mean, what was there, like $30 billion that were put up for this to happen back in that day, and nothing happened, right? Well, things are different now. What did they do? They actually passed, I think it is June 12th, 2023. Yep, June 12th, I think it was. They passed the tripartite budget. It's in the Gazette. There's no amendments to it. If anybody has them, I like to see them, because then I can say that, well, I missed that. But please bring it on. Jeff, you're welcome to come do that, right? Pimpy, you guys are all welcome to do that. Frank 26, you guys are welcome to do that. Let's do it. Let's see if they've made any amendments to their budget. But I don't think they have. The Central Bank of Iraq Department of Foreign Investments and Transfers comes out, and this is part of, I think it's page 3 of 6. If you have it, I'd suggest you look at that. It talks about investment agreements. Interestingly enough, it's not just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, but 12. Isn't that funny? The 12 disciples. But look, the truth is that the investment incentives agreement between Iraq and the United States of America for the year 2012. That's the last one that they mention in this. Most of these bilateral agreements and treaties included provisions related to the freedom of movement of capital. That is Article 8. That's what it is. Freedom of movement of capital. If you don't have it and you're not released to get it, you're not going anywhere. That's just the way that's my view on it. And basically it says, first of the above law refer to the investors taking out the capital, basically stating he, she, if she brought in Iraq and it returns in accordance with the provisions of the law and the instructions of the Central Bank of Iraq in convertible currency. Convertible currency. Well, is Iraq dinar considered convertible currency today? I don't think so. Is it going to be? I think it will be. Because why? They're going to be doing the things that they said they're going to do. It says the instruction of the Central Bank of Iraq in convertible currency after paying all his obligations, we talked about that, obligations, and debts in the Iraqi government and other parties. It says mechanisms of capital movement to and from Iraq. The Central Bank of Iraq has a prominent role in encouraging investments, introducing capital, and creating a system of financial dealings with foreign banks to work in the country and benefiting from their expertise. And what else? To develop the Iraqi banking sector. So have we seen all of this? Are we seeing it all as we speak? Is it a coincidence that Iraq's central bank has allowed this information to be printed out off their website? I'm not so sure it's a coincidence. I think it's probably directly related to them telling the world what they need to know. Do they want everybody in the world to know? I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, Department of Foreign Investments and Transfers, local companies, as well as to create advanced financial dealings, they are creating competition, enhancing their confidence in the marketplace, in addition to the fact that the role of foreign companies and banks will be important in attracting investments. I think that was the key part, was that the main thing is that creating an environment to attract foreign investments. So obviously everybody and their brothers thinking about what? The development road project, right? They're going to be building roads, railways. I mean, they're going to be building residential cities, industrial cities, all of these things. How are they going to do that without being Article 8 compliant? And all of this is basically in an article that is from central bank, not an article, it's not an article at all. It's actually instructions from the Central Bank of Iraq that have basically stated that these are some of the things that they talk about. And one of the key words that you have to look up is obligation. I suggest you do it. You're going to find that you're going to go, wow, there's a lot of this about obligation. And in depth, but think about this. I mean, all the banks, I mean, there's like Chartered Bank, the QNB Bank, the Kuwait Bank, the United Arab Emirates Bank, the Bahrain Bank. I mean, I can go on and on and on. There is a huge amount of banks involved in this around the world, right? So they're all basically talking about being involved. They wouldn't have published this if it wasn't important, because that's not their job. Their job is to tell people. They don't have to tell you all the information and in a timely manner, but they have to. They pretty much have to tell you, and they have. And this here is basically stating that they're referring to laws that date back to what I told you from the beginning. It was 1945. This one goes to 2011. We saw 2003, 2006. Not Google it, but just come into Patreon, take a peek, and you can see. You can find all this information. And I posted this article, this document today. And it says 2011, investment law number 13, 2006. There's a date for you. It says the Republic of Iraq deposited at its disposal in the investment account with the local bank by transferring outside Iraq whenever it wishes at the market exchange rate to finance its import operations, goods and services, and obligations, keyword, related to investment activity. But this part is the kicker here is because, yes, you can argue and say, well, this is dated information. We've heard it before. It's been published before. But at this point in time, it does say right here, if you can see it, I'm not sure if you can, but it says 2023. Right? It says, and in 2023, the bank issued controls of transfers related to foreign investments in Iraq as follows. I'm not going to read every little bit of that because it's a little bit lengthy, but fact remains is in 2023, they go from 1945 to 2023. What year is it, everyone? It's 2023. They're talking about Article 8. This is the article talking about Article 8 compliance. Iraq, freedom of capital movement. If you don't get that, I'm not sure what to say, okay? This isn't 2016, 2012, or 2019, okay? If you've been in this for 20 years, this should have you like jumping through your boots, because the fact remains is it says they're talking about this Article 8 compliant on the CBI's website in 2023. Okay? That's the cool part about this whole thing, man. And then again, as we read on, it's going to say more obligations, because what are they? They're obliged to do things. Article 8 requires them to do things. And I think Iraq's ready to do that. And I'm going to get into a little bit more in depth, in a sense, here in a minute. I don't mean to bore you guys, but transferring the proceeds from the sale of shares to Iraqis residing abroad or foreigners, the original value plus its proceeds, if any, in the event of selling them, provided that approval is provided that the Iraqi Stock Exchange, in addition to the Iraqi government, directing all licensed banks to reduce foreign currency transfers and commissions. Okay, so they're talking about what? The Iraqi Stock Exchange, investors having the ability of freedom of capital movement. Okay, here it says the executive procedures for the movement of funds, transfers of funds for investments projects granted a basic investment license through opening current accounts in the Iraqi dinar and in foreign currency in one of the banks operating in Iraq, and the amounts are transferred and received from these accounts according to the controls of the central bank. Okay, so I'm not going to read every little bit of it, but the bottom line is you can see that there's controls. It says, the investor can transfer money from his accounts in foreign banks and their correspondents, which we've heard about, operating abroad to the account of the Central Bank of Iraq, the one of its correspondents abroad, so back and forth, in country, out of country, right? And then receive the equivalent from his account opened with them. Okay, so when you're going to do a trade, you're going to have pair your currencies. You're going to have equivalency when it comes to value, and that's basically what I'm getting from that. Ultimately, it says required documents. They have to have the specific. The new platform, you have to know your customer. You need to know. They're going to know that when you do a trade, they're going to have it set up to where that everybody's on a level playing field. And here again, they say the equivalent of funds, Iraqi dinars, is recorded on the bank's current accounts open with the Central Bank of Iraq. And they have they at least 2 working days before and or after which the external transfer of these purposes will be carried out. So sometime around, you do the trade, you're going to get your data within 2 days. That's pretty fast, basically. So ultimately, what are they saying? It says basically this data set from the CBI in relation to Iraq's membership to the IMF's Article 8, and this article is from past to present. So I shouldn't say it's called an article in my view, but ultimately it's a bunch of it's information that supports the fact that Iraq is ready to or moving to be Article 8 compliant. And who showed up here today? What, you gonna talk to everybody? Oh, buddy, are you serious? He's real serious. Okay. You guys, thank you. Sorry, but Wally hasn't decided to not get into the picture. So anyway, the CBI today comes back and says that there are reasons that are important, right? That I feel important are. There's some data that has the, let's see, did I have this correctly? Sure I do, yeah. It says that we would like to inform you, this is from the central bank, that we'd like to inform you that the auction of the traditional financial transfers, and this particular one is interesting because I've done this before, I've given you different translations, but it says auctions of traditional financial transfers of the Central Bank of Iraq has been announced for a period of about 14 days, and they give it a number, B306, and the implementation will be on 16/10/23, or 16/10/2023, which is what? It's this October 16th. Okay. The next one, translation, okay, that we pull off CBI's website, it says, we would like to inform you that the auction for traditional remittances, remember, I did this before. You can go into Patreon and look it up. It's fascinating. Traditional remittances to the Central Bank of Iraq. But here's the kicker. They said auctions of traditional financial transfers, and they say traditional remittances to the central bank. So it sounds like a little bit of a back and forth on the same day. Fascinating. So, but it says it has been announced on 14 days, and yet it says its implementation will be on the 16th of that date, of that month. And so what I go into, and maybe you guys don't agree with me and you don't want to go back in time and see that some of these things have correlations and some dates effectively, but they do. And what I mean by that is, look, I put this on Patreon, and I want you guys to maybe absorb it. If you don't understand it, so be it. I'll try to be polite and quite frank about it. It is that Al-Sudani and the Council of Ministers made a move back on or around the 15th of September. What they did was, could be a little bit before that because I don't have the calendar in front of me, but what they did was they moved the Council of Ministers' normal behavior of the Tuesday meeting. Council of Ministers, right, moved a meeting they normally have on a Tuesday to a Sunday. Al-Sudani was requested, or actually requested, to go to the United States of America months ago, prior to that date, and he was denied. And there was information that was given back to him saying, well, you're denied because we need these three things done. Because the expectation of that time frame was that you guys should have already had this done and we should be out of here already. But they didn't do that. It didn't work that way. And for probably many reasons, maybe many that I don't know. But the interesting thing is that they moved that date for that Council of Ministers meeting to a Sunday. And that Sunday was the day that Al-Sudani actually was allowed, on good faith, to go to the United States of America, which is, I believe, is in New York City, and come to speak, which I think he stayed for 4 or 5 days and talked to everybody. And so that all of those things happened. And so the interesting thing is that he did that on good faith. And I won't get into all of it, but I have this on Patreon. It's actually public information. It's actually, you can get it for free for those of you that are on YouTube that can't afford it. I would like you to take a peek at that, because that's where it's at. It's fascinating information, because the fact remains is that he was given permission on good faith. And why was that good information? Well, there's a theory out there, and that theory is because that he had done things that needed to be done, ready to go to be what? Article 8 compliant. That's my view on it. I think you guys should take a peek at it, take a look at it. You're not going to get this from everybody else. I haven't seen it out on the internet yet today, but I'll be honest with you. This data is, it's fascinating, it's good, and I could be wrong, but I enjoy. Come see us at Patreon and in Discord. There's going to be more on this coming out, and we'd love to have you. And for all the new folks, thank you guys very much for hitting the like button. I thank you very much for subscribing. The numbers are growing consistently, and that's amazing. And also remember that if you like our content and you want to keep this content growing, your donations really do help a great deal. We have Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, etc. And so thank you very much. Good night, you guys. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.